Hi there, this is Michael from OTC, OnlineTOEFLCourse.com, and these comments are for AM. You're one of my TOEFL Speaking Bootcamp course students, Hua, and I'm getting ready to listen to your integrated speaking practice test. You're doing speaking practice every day of the week, my goodness. So keep it up. So you get used to the errors, the problems you're having, and eventually you will be able to correct all these problems and you will score over 26 on the TOEFL. I know it. I've helped hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of students before, and the more practice tests you get, the more feedback you get, the more lessons that you review, and the stronger your speaking skills become. Here, hold on a minute. Give me a second. Okay, so the next step here is I have the integrated speaking rubrics and I have your practice test. So let's listen to it.
In the lecture, the professor tries to differentiate.
You want to say the professor. So professor needs to be stressed the second syllable. Make that that second syllable clearer, louder, longer, and higher pitch. So professor.
Between substitute and complement goods. First off, she discusses substitute good, which is a product.
Substitute goods, which are products. If you use goods and then you use which, you need to have a plural verb in that adjective clause.
That can be substituted by another similar product. To illustrate this concept, she mentions how margarine can replace butter because they
how what? I'm not quite sure what you're saying there. Hold on.
How margarine can replace butter because they are.
Yeah, it's not very clear what you're saying right there. I'm not quite sure what that is. Between 21 and 23 seconds. If anybody at YouTube knows what she said there, put it in the comments below the video. Thank you.
Similar to each other. She says people will buy margarine if the price of butter goes up. Consequently,
margarine, that's the problem. So you're having word stress shift problems there.
The demand for margarine will increase. On the other hand, she described.
Let's go back to what you just said there.
On the other hand, she increase. On the other hand.
Yeah, it's on the other hand, not in the other hand. So be careful of three prepositions that are really confusing to a lot of people. In, on, at. Right? If you want to get some example sentences using these, go to Google, type in the words in, on, and at prepositions in English grammar, and you can get some sample sentences there. It's not easy to learn prepositions. You might want to record some of the sample sentences, maybe listen to them when you're driving around or you're doing some work around the house. Play the audio files of those prepositions and sample sentences. That can probably help you gain a little bit more mastery of those.
She describes the complement good, which is when two products
complement goods, which are when two products
complete each other. So we can't buy one without the other.
So we, who is we? How about so consumers cannot buy one without buying the other?
The one. And she gives an example about CDs and CD players. And she mentions that if the price of...
Yeah, be careful about using and too many times. Use a more formal word. Stop the sentence and maybe say moreover or furthermore. Be careful with TOEFL using words like so and or but in the beginning of sentences as transition words. It's probably better to use the more formal counterparts of those words. Right? So here's some keys. I want you to go to Google, type in these key words. TOEFL transition words. Right? You'll find a blog post I wrote from Better TOEFL Scores that can help you gain more mastery in those areas.
One of these products goes up, the demand for both would decrease.
Let me listen to what you just said. I'm going to check your language use at the very end there.
If the price of one of these products goes up, the demand for both would decrease. In the lecture.
Okay, so I think when I look at the rubrics, yeah, I'm going to say 2.5 to 3. I'm going to say 18 to 19 points out of 30 on this one. You definitely had some problems with delivery, which make it a little bit hard to understand. And one of the areas I noticed today was word stress shifts. So you can review word stress lessons in the pronunciation part of my course. I think that'll give you some good practice to help you in those areas. I think maybe with language use, you might want to be careful with this subject verb agreement in adjective clauses, right? So type in those keywords in Google. You can practice a little bit more in that area as well. Okay, now I think my score is pretty accurate, but let me listen to your practice test one more time. I will not interrupt it at all, and then I'll see if I'm going to change. I
The
probably won't.
professor tries to differentiate between substitute and complement goods. First off, she discusses
Crap, I don't want to stop it, but tries to differentiate. I would just say differentiates between. If you say tries to differentiate, it's almost like the professor wasn't successful in doing that, but you're not supposed to make those kinds of judgments when you summarize reading and listening passages. So just say the professor differentiates between two types of goods.
substitute a good, which is a product that can be substituted by another similar product. To illustrate this concept, she mentions how margarine can replace butter because they are similar to each other. She says people will buy margarine if the price of butter goes up. Consequently, the demand for margarine will increase. On the other hand, she describes the complement good, which is when two products complete each other. So we can't buy one without the other one. And she gives an example about CDs and CD players. And she mentions that if the price of one of these products goes up, the demand for both would decrease. In the
Okay, so I think my score is accurate here. So I'm going to say 18 to 19 points out of 30. Several problems with language use and delivery. So this is a good example of why it's important to have a good basic vocabulary. You know, words like margarine, butter, toothpaste, deodorant, things of that nature. You need to know not just what the words are, but you need to be comfortable pronouncing those words. So it's good in your delivery that you're familiar with both basic and academic vocabulary words, and especially you know how to pronounce those words when you're speaking. So that was one of the big problems, that word margarine, that really threw you off. Yet that's a really, really common word in the English language. People go to the store and buy it almost every day, and you're just not sure how to pronounce that. All right. Well, thank you for doing the practice test.